Now let's talk about this. Why would you want this in your 2.0 EcoBoost, Focus ST, Focus RS, whatever it is? Why would you want that? Yes, sir. So I've taken the time to clean the valves on this car, and that's why it's like this. But I'm taking advantage of the intake manifold being off of the car right now by putting catch cans on and also putting a baffle plate on. So now that it has cleaner valves, I want to reduce the gunk from coming back. So that's why I'm getting the catch cans and also the baffle plate, because it's going to help reduce that buildup by filtering the air that much more. Additionally, in order to fit the dual catch can that I got for the Radium setup that I bought, I have to do a Symposer delete. Right now, I still have the stock Symposer on it right now, but I will be replacing that with the Symposer delete. Also Radium. I want the whole Radium cart. The baffle plate with accessories to put it together so that everything works right. And over here, the whole kit for the catch can. So we got a mounting bracket. Kind of sucks doing things one hand, but no complaining. At least I know that it's packaged well. Catch can number 1. I ain't even gonna unwrap this right now. Catch can number 2. Contraband. I like contraband. Some accessories. More accessories and more contraband. Slide that out of the way a little bit. Hoses. Need the hoses. Another mounting bracket. And that's pretty much it. So we got the dual catch can set up here. The baffle plate. I have to put the Symposer delete on in order for all this to fit. So that's all I'm gonna be adding on to the car today to help filter out this engine so it runs longer. For people who don't know, the 2-liter EcoBoost is direct injection only, which means that there is no way that the intake valves are getting cleaned by any type of fuel from factory. So in order to filter that blow by from the PCV, this is why we get catch cans. And there's a million videos on the internet about that, so I'm not gonna explain why you want and need a catch can. I'm just telling you a brief overview of why we get catch cans for the EcoBoost in the STs. All right. Now let's talk about this. Why would you want this in your 2.0 EcoBoost, Focus ST, Focus RS, whatever it is? Why would you want that? Let's get into it. So, looking at the stock baffle plate, if we look down here, if we can focus just a little bit, but back there is where it mounts to, right? Let me get a different angle. So down here at the bottom, that's where oil is. Oil lives down in that hole right there, right? So if we look at the stock one, let's go back to the stock one. All right, back to the stock one. So when we look at this and turn it around, the only thing separating this from crankcase ventilation is the baffle. The baffle keeps the oil separate from the air, right? So the new one has 2 baffles. You don't necessarily need this at all. However, if you're really trying to keep your engine filtered, especially when you start modifying, adding more power, the more baffles, the better, because that'll help reduce any kind of oil splash or anything that can get past the first baffle. That's where the second baffle could come help to keep oil out of the air, period. This is not a guaranteed thing, just like anything that's man-made. Nothing's guaranteed, but it definitely helps to have that extra baffle. Just kind of think of everything else inside of a car, like a fuel tank or anything like that, where it uses baffles to keep the fluid from sloshing from one side to the other. So same concept here, keeps the oil from sloshing upwards, getting into the crankcase ventilation air system. So that's why you would look at something like this, especially if you race your car. You would definitely want to look into something like this to keep that oil in the parts that it's supposed to be in. All right, moving on. So the front PCV catch can, it's really clean, really good looking, really clean. It fits like if it was an OEM product, so it's really good, well made, and it looks well. Dipstick right here, I've driven it probably a day as expected, no oil. But yeah, I don't have the easy drain part at the bottom, so what I have to do is I have to take my hand, undo the catch can when it's full, and just drain it manually. It's actually not that bad, especially because the delete, dang, what is it called? The sound composer delete kit is on. So since that's there, it frees up a lot of space for my hand, so I can get in there and do that. And I can see why you would need the delete there. It's because the composer is so big in this spot that the hose routing will be really challenging. And on top of that, just this being mounted here would be really challenging because of how far this composer sticks out. But yeah, that's the delete right there. As you can see, this hose and also this hose right here is routed to the back of the intake manifold, where the PCV valve and also the back of the intake port is is all connected. Now back here, the CCV valve, a CC valve, just crankcase ventilation, going from the back of the head to the actual intake right here. All right, and it also has a sensor and everything, how it works out. But same thing, looks really clean, really OEM. Just a quick tip for anybody. So when you're cutting to size the hoses, use the extra hose to add extra barrier for the actual hoses, kind of like how I did right here. I use extra hose just to kind of protect the actual hose from any rubbing over time, because it will rub over time. No matter how smooth the engine is, it's still gonna vibrate a little bit. So just kind of keep that in mind, just to protect it for the longevity of its life. As far as the install goes, it's honestly not difficult at all. It's pretty easy. Pretty easy. What? I got water dripping in my engine? Because it's raining out. And this right here. Now I got water dripping in my engine. I'm not tripping about it, but it's kind of annoying to know that. But all in all, really clean. I am satisfied with the fit and finish of everything and how it looks. Just the tip I already said, just make sure that you use the extra hose just to add that extra protection for the actual hose for the routing. That way it don't rub through and then you gotta replace your hoses, a few years down the road, especially if you cut the hoses just a tad too short. That way you don't, it's gonna rub. So yeah, it's looking real good. I am very satisfied. And back here, in order to change the catch can back here without the quick drain, I will have to remove the intake, at least this part, right? That way I can get my hand in there, unscrew it, take it out, and drain it. But as far as I know about these engines, that doesn't fill up not even remotely as quick as this one, right? So which means that this could be here without being changed for a very long time. I will always check them both around the same time, but that's what I know. All right. And that's what it is. So with the intake valves being clean and now the catch cans installed with the additional baffle with the PCV baffle plate, you know, this car is ready for extra power. At least I am ready to give it extra power, knowing that the engine is more protected from the oil buildup. Now, the next thing for reliability before I add more power is breathing and cooling. It's making sure that this engine is being as cool as possible, OEM plus that is, as cool as possible, and breathing good before I go ahead and start adding anything like a Cobb tuner or anything like that onto this car. So that's going to be for the next video. Thank you, and God bless.